In Kansas City, the 2026 World Cup was supposed to launch a new security experiment. Not inside a stadium, inside city buses. The original plan was small, 9 buses, with up to 5 cameras in each one. Cameras designed to detect movement and shapes, use facial recognition, and send safety alerts automatically. But they missed the World Cup. Normally, that would kill a pilot. Here, it did the opposite. By June, the plan had expanded from 9 buses to as many as 30, and the experiment was scheduled to run for 2 years. The World Cup was not the end of the experiment. It was the original deployment deadline. And Kansas City was only one part of a much larger picture. Cameras, drones, command centers, and data systems across 16 host cities. Some systems disappeared after the final. Others were designed to stay. So what exactly did the World Cup leave behind? To understand why, ignore the cameras for a moment. Look at the calendar. 104 matches, 16 host cities, 3 countries, and 1 fixed opening day when everything had to work. FIFA ran a tournament operations center in Miami. It connected FIFA leadership, the host cities, and more than 600 official sites. Its screens tracked incidents, weather, team movements, and the location of accredited personnel. That was an event operations system, not one North American police network. But it reveals the mechanism that matters here. A mega event turns a vague plan into a deadline. Before the opening match, equipment has to be selected. Contracts have to be signed. Networks have to connect. Staff have to be trained. A project that might have taken years suddenly has a date printed on every meeting. And when the purchase belongs to a city, the final whistle does not automatically make it disappear. The deadline also came with money. 11 American host city regions shared $625 million in World Cup security grants. A separate counter-drone program made another $221 million available. Add those figures and you get $846 million. But that number needs a warning label. This was security funding, not $846 million of surveillance purchases. The grants could support planning, staffing, communications, barriers, training, cybersecurity, cameras, drones, or other equipment. Public records did not offer one clean shopping list. When researchers reviewed the 11 American allocations, only Atlanta, Boston, and Dallas had publicly described some intended uses. The money was visible. Much of the procurement detail was not. Atlanta offers a partial view. The city said it received $52.2 million from the main program. Its police department received another $7.6 million from the counter-drone program. Atlanta said the expanded drone unit would support aerial surveillance, rapid response, and real-time monitoring of crowds and movement. Those are World Cup functions. They are also useful at the next protest, parade, emergency, or major event. But a camera count still misses most of the system. Ranking Digital Rights mapped at least 21 companies across what it called a 5-layer surveillance stack. The first layer collects video, faces, license plates, sound, and other signals. The second layer tries to classify or predict a movement, a pattern, a risk, a person worth flagging. The third can intercept communications or capture information from devices inside an area. The fourth joins separate feeds inside command centers, where a camera image, a location, an alert, and a police record can become one operational picture. And the fifth watches from above, using drones and counter-drone systems to monitor the airspace around stadiums, fan zones, and transport routes. The power is not only in each layer, it is in the connection between them. Collection becomes more consequential when another system can search it, compare it, and send an alert. But there is an important limit. The researchers could not confirm that all 5 layers operated together at every World Cup event. This is a map of companies and capabilities across the host city ecosystem, not a diagram of one secret machine controlled by FIFA. Now return to the Kansas City buses because their second life is hidden inside a small technical distinction. The proposed software would check a face against active alerts for banned riders, missing people, or names selected by the Transport Authority. Officials said that when there was no match, the facial data would not be retained. But the ordinary video was different. After a bus returned to the depot, that footage could be archived on a local server for as long as 5 years. One camera stream, 2 kinds of data, 2 retention rules, and a system whose possible uses already extended beyond football. Houston purchased a different kind of system, 10 AI-assisted traffic cameras for $350,000 along the road connecting fan events to the stadium. The supplier said these cameras were not facial recognition or license plate identification devices. They were designed to detect vehicles, pedestrians, crossings, and near misses so engineers could improve traffic flow and safety. That distinction matters. Houston's cameras and Kansas City's face matching plan were not the same technology. What they shared was a path into ordinary municipal life. Each had a use after the visiting crowd was gone. This is how an event becomes a showroom. Not because every system is sinister, because the tournament gives agencies a deadline to test what a vendor says the system can do, and the city supplies the next use case. But if we stop there, the story becomes too simple. In Seattle, stadium district cameras were activated for the city's World Cup period. On July 7th, the mayor said those particular cameras had been switched off. They were to remain off while the city completed an audit of the cameras connected to its real-time crime center. No new police CCTV cameras would be activated during that review. At the same time, cameras that already operated in Seattle's downtown core, Chinatown International District, and North Aurora stayed on. Same city, same command environment, different end dates. Vancouver wrote another kind of ending into its procurement. A proposed contract with TELUS covered CCTV, Wi-Fi, fiber, support, and a common operating platform. It was valued at roughly 12.9 million Canadian dollars over an initial 15 months with a possibility of renewal. But the contract also required post-event teardown or removal of all temporary infrastructure. Vancouver's action plan said event cameras would be decommissioned after the tournament. That did not erase every camera in Vancouver. It did something more precise. It defined which part of the World Cup system had an ending. That kind of precision was rare. For the first time, FIFA required every host city to produce a human rights action plan. Privacy and the responsible use of surveillance were explicitly included in the framework. By early April, 2 months before kickoff, only 4 of the 16 host city committees had published their plans. More plans appeared later, but when Ranking Digital Rights reviewed them during the tournament, only Boston, Toronto, and Vancouver explicitly addressed privacy or surveillance risks. A plan does not guarantee good practice, but without a public plan, basic questions become difficult to answer. What is collected? Who can access it? How long it is kept? And what happens when the emergency ends? The absence of those answers is not proof of abuse. It is proof that the public cannot easily inspect the rules. The company map needs the same caution. Researchers identified at least 21 companies across the 5 layers. The authors later wrote that at least 15 had entered new agreements or renewed existing partnerships in the host city ecosystem. But some of the most recognizable names, Axon, Clearview AI, Flock Safety, Palantir, and L3 Harris, already had relationships with local agencies. The researchers did not find a specific World Cup contract for every one of them. That changes the picture. The World Cup did not summon a new surveillance industry into empty cities. It arrived in cities where cameras, license plate readers, police databases, drones, and integration platforms already had customers. The tournament brought those systems into one sales window. Agencies received funding and urgency. Vendors received a global demonstration. Existing infrastructure gained a new reason to expand. The showroom was not a convention hall. It was the city itself. And this pattern did not begin in 2026. Research on Cape Town after the 2010 World Cup describes security legacies that continued through policing practices, CCTV equipment, and control of public space. Research on Brazil's 2014 World Cup and Rio's 2016 Olympics found that command centers and surveillance technology left a long-lasting apparatus. It also found something less cinematic. The promised integration often failed at street level. So a legacy can persist without working as perfectly as its sales presentation claimed. In Russia, Entech Labs' Find Face was used during the 2018 World Cup. It later spread across Russian regions. A 2026 investigation found that Iranian companies had acquired and resold the software to entities linked to the state. That was not a FIFA contract moving from Russia to Iran. It was the later life of a product that had already proved itself on a global stage. And in France, algorithmic video surveillance tested around the Paris 2024 Olympics was supposed to end in March 2025. Legislation for the 2030 Winter Games later revived the experiment and extended it through 2027. These cases do not prove that every temporary measure becomes permanent. They show why the expiration date deserves as much attention as the launch date. So the real legacy test is not how many cameras were used during the World Cup. It is, who owns the system after the event? Who can search it? What data survives? Is there an audit? And does anything switch off automatically? Kansas City gives us a pilot that missed its deadline, expanded its ambition, and could archive ordinary footage for 5 years. Houston gives us a municipal purchase with an everyday traffic function. Atlanta gives us an expanded drone unit with uses far beyond 1 month of football. Seattle gives us a visible off switch and a pending audit, while older camera systems continue nearby. Vancouver gives us a teardown clause for temporary infrastructure. The technologies are different, the contracts are different, the afterlives are different. And that is the point. The World Cup did not build one surveillance machine. It created a deadline, a market, and a public argument for many separate systems. The final whistle tells us when the tournament ends. It tells us nothing about the systems built around it.